And we are live. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sundays with the General. I have got which alter ego is it this week? Do we have Kenny or Kevin Cotterill with us?
I'll just be like, just call me competitive. I'm competitive for competitive.
Okay, I'm good. All right, I've got competitive Kevin here. Of course, he was just live on the Blue Collar Media Group channels, 20 minutes ago. I don't know when the episode ended. But yeah, I had to get Kenny on here today because this is one of the best things that happens in the NBA playoffs today is when we have 2 Game 7s on a Sunday. I fucking love these days. I'm sure you do as well. You're a basketball fan. Game 7s in the NBA, they hit hard. I mean, they do it any playoffs, but a Game 7 hits.
Yeah.
But I love these back-to-back Game 7s. Let's first off, Golden State wrapped up the Warriors. Golden State wrapped up Memphis the other night. That obviously wasn't a surprise, especially without John Morant, and I'm honestly almost more surprised it went 6.
I think a lot of people are shocked that it went 6. I mean, especially, it's not even Ja being out. I saw a lot of Warriors in 5 because once you get past Ja, you have like a lot of question marks of like who's going to consistently give you what you need.
Yeah, 100%. The Heat finished off the Sixers in the Eastern Conference. Now that series, that looked like for at least 2 games that it was going to take a turn. And then, I'm not going to put the blame on Embiid 100% because he was hurt, but he did not play that great. It's on the rest of that team, and it's on like the organization. It's the money that you gave to like certain guys. Like Jimmy Butler mocked them for it. You decided to pay Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler.
The thing with the Jimmy situation too is that like he was never going to come back because Bruce Brown was the coach, and like they couldn't stand each other. And it's because when Butler came in, who's a guy that's played for better franchises, like he played for the Bulls under Thibodeau, so like they had a system, like they this is how we run things. And when he comes,
they had a system and not a process.
Yes, a system, not a process. And they trusted the system and not the process. But the thing was, he comes in and he's just looking for like, okay, like who's in charge? Like, what are we doing here? Like are we winning a championship or like what are we doing? And Bruce Brown just like, I don't think he was ever a good coach. And so
no, he wasn't. Dude.
And so Jimmy's just like, okay, so like, what are we doing here? Like, and then at the end of the year, they're like worried about Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, I don't know why you're worried about me. Like I showed up. He was the best player consistently in that Raptors series that they lost.
Yeah.
And then they're worried about him. And he's like, wait, you're not worried about the guy that like doesn't shoot. You're not worried about the guy that like that you brought in at the deadline that didn't have a great playoffs. You're not worried about the guy who is since then has gone on to almost win the MVP back-to-back years, but hasn't. And instead, at that point, he was either scoring 30 points or he was scoring 5 points in playoff games. So he's like, you're concerned about all these other guys. You're not concerned about them, but you're concerned about me? Like, I'd be pissed off too. I'm like, look, I've been a professional since I've showed up. Like, you can talk about my days in Minnesota all you want, but I showed up and I was a professional from the second I got here. I played great in the playoffs. I hit big shots. I did all this stuff. One lucky bounce, and we would have been moving on to the final.
Butler is a guy that you need to start. I think people need to start giving more credit to as a player. He's been in the Eastern Conference Finals now twice with the Heat, and he went once with the Sixers, and the Sixers haven't been back.
No.
Like, I mean, it wasn't. They didn't go there because of Simmons.
No,
right?
And I think what the thing about Butler too is that like I'm not going to go as far as to call him a superstar, because in my mind there's only like 5 to 7 of those in the league.
Yeah, no, he's not a superstar.
He has superstar moments. Like when he had the triple-double in the NBA Finals, like that was a superstar moment when they beat the Lakers on his triple-double. Like we can talk about those, but like consistently, like how many times in the regular season would you open up a Heat box score and he'd have like 17 points?
Oh, yeah, like, no, absolutely. But he is like superstars. He's got that like games. Classic, like he got that dog in him.
Yeah.
Like line that you always hear. Like that's Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Like he's that guy that like every once in a while, like he's got that moment where he's just, for whatever reason, he's fired up and he's got that game and he's just like, nah.
I think the thing about him is that he doesn't care about the regular season as much, but once he gets to the playoffs, that like ramps up. And like, I shouldn't even say that he doesn't care about the regular season, but like he doesn't have that like pissed off mentality heading in like he does in the playoffs. And that's what's so scary about him come playoff time, because he's played like a superstar in the first 2 rounds. Like the amount of times that he's dropped 40 or like 30 plus has been phenomenal. And he's been a big reason why they've won these series in 6 games like they did.
Well, I mean, this year people would have said James Harden was a superstar.
Coming in, yeah.
Jimmy Butler's never talked about as a superstar. But he's, I don't consider him one, like you said, but like the way he's played in the playoffs compared to the way James Harden just played, Jimmy Butler looks like the superstar to me.
And this is what's so funny about Philly moving forward, is that they are in absolute disaster land with.
Oh my God! What the fuck? I was just gonna say, what the fuck do you do if you're Philadelphia? What do you do?
So if we're talking about what you should do, it's you should tell James Harden that you're giving him a 3-year extension and you're not giving him any more than that, because I think
not at the max.
Well, I can understand the max at 2 or 3 years, because by the time you hit that 3rd year, it's probably not looking great. But like that's the only way that you keep him, because he'll want max money. But the issue is that he's owed so much money that I read this. If he signs a 5-year max, when he hits the final year of that max, he'd get $60 million a year. He would make that much money at the age of 37, which we talk about guys like Westbrook's contract is untradeable. Imagine 37-year-old Harden making $60 million.
Yeah, this is.
You want to talk about not being.
That's one of the things I've been saying. Yeah, Westbrook has lost a little bit, but I don't think he's lost as much as Harden. Harden's lost a step, probably a step and a half. What he had from his MVP.
He can't beat anyone off the dribble. He can't beat anyone off the dribble.
Yeah, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have the step. Sure, he's going to knock down threes, right?
Yeah.
Like, except not in the fourth quarter. Both playoff games, apparently. But I mean, like, yeah, sure, he can shoot threes. He's James Harden. He's not making people miss him on those threes like he used to either. He's not making that move to get separation like he used to.
But if you look at Harden right now, would you not consider him 20 pounds overweight that he should be if he's going to have that?
Absolutely, he is.
And so this is another thing. So if you're going to talk about giving him an extension, I think it comes with a training camp weight that he has to be at coming in.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, 100%. This is what stable organizations with systems do. Like, what the process probably doesn't say anything about training camp weight. But you're right. You're right. He's overweight. He's out of shape.
And it's not like it's egregious or anything. Like, he's not like Zion where it's like 60 pounds or anything. But like the 20 pounds for him is the difference between him blowing by guys and them staying in front of him. Yeah, especially later in his career.
Yeah, and when James Harden's blowing by guys instead of them staying in front of him, he's one of the best scorers maybe one of the best scorers the game's ever seen.
And I don't want to compare these two players, but I want to compare like the physiques. Do you remember Kobe like 10 years into his career, how he was still like built and then later in his career, he kind of trimmed down a bit, but like he also he just took that like extra weight off his knees and just like that's how he was able to play as long as he did. That's what Harden should be doing at this juncture of his career. If you drop that 20, 25 pounds, let's say, and then you're just like, you're lean, you're not like built, you're lean, and then you get that speed back that you're missing. Because to me, that's the difference between Harden returning to like Houston Harden and him remaining this like 14 points in a game 6 must-win game at home Harden that we just saw that is now asking for all this money because Tobias is owed $38 million next year. You've got Embiid. Embiid is the third highest paid
$38 million for Tobias Harris. Just can we laugh at that for a second? Can we $38 million for Tobias Harris? I mean, forget.
So I went back and looked at it. My very first episode of my previous show, I went and looked at because it was the free agency that they paid him. And I was like, this is going to be the worst contract, one of the worst contracts in the league in about 3 years. We're now at the 3-year mark. Like, how is this not a bad contract? Because we knew what Tobias was when they gave him the contract. He's not going to be anything more than 16 to 18 points a game for you, which there's value, but not at that value.
That's a role player.
$25 million. That's $25 million.
It's a role player.
Point. Yep.
It's. I mean, I don't even know like what I'd say he is on the Celtics, but it's a role player. Like I can't even say I compare him to something, but that's all he is. He's a role player. He's not $38 million a year for him. No, absolutely not.
He's probably your fifth best guy.
For Miami, I have to say they have done a great job with this team. The signing of Victor Oladipo to let him rehab his injury and then deploy him off the bench in the playoffs, as much as I don't like the Miami Heat, has been one of my favorite moves that any team has made all season. I think it's been one of the most important moves Miami has made to getting them as far as they've come in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I know he's just a guy off the bench, but I mean, listen, you know as much as me, bench scoring is is a very important thing to have. And Oladipo has been fantastic off the bench for Miami.
I think we've seen it this postseason, especially that these rosters of like 3 megastars and no bench like just doesn't work. And like it doesn't matter if like, oh well, this guy was hurt, this guy was missing, whatever. Okay, but injuries happen. Like the reason why the Bucks are still in this series is because they have their quote unquote big 3. But then they have a complete roster. Like you've got Bobby Portis off the bench. You've got Pat Connaughton off the bench. When you look at that Philly team, not to go back to them for too long, you look at that bench, their bench is Georges Niang and Matisse Thybulle. Neither of which are giving you any sort of consistent scoring production.
And then so the same thing for the Celtics. I mean, like Derek White has been lights out in this series. You miss having Robert Williams, and Daniel Theis is not a fantastic player. Like, I'm not going to say he's a fantastic player at all, but having Grant Williams and Daniel Theis after losing Robert Williams is, I mean, that's good depth. I still think I think the Celtics need more depth.
I think the key to being a championship contender in the league right now is you can pay 2 guys big contracts. You can pay a third guy that like mid-level contract, but you got to be able to round it out with veterans, with whether even rookies, like guys on their rookie deals. Like if you can find guys late in drafts that can come in, like a team like New Orleans that drafts a guy like Herb Jones in the second round, who comes in and is just a phenomenal defender. Like you get that contract, and like you can build around these sorts of contracts. But when you've got $100 million in 3 guys, like it's impossible to build the team around them. We saw the Lakers fail with it. We saw Brooklyn fail with it. We're seeing Philadelphia fail with it. Why is Phoenix so good? Because they have Booker and Paul on big deals. They're going to have to pay Ayton, and that's why their window is closing, because they're going to have to start paying some of these guys on their rookie deals. But they have depth, and so does Golden State. They've got Curry and Clay and Draymond on big deals, but then they have like some friendly deals like a Jordan Poole.
So, I was just going to say Jordan Poole,
Wiggins,
like the Jordan Poole, Wiggins, the depth of Golden State. I mean, they're. So let's get into our game sevens. This is so now my problem is that the 3:30 start. I like the start time for my home team game, because I'm not committed to like staying up until like 11:30 at night on a weeknight.
Yeah.
But what the fuck am I supposed to do all day? Like after this, like the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
Now I just gotta sit around.
Got a few hours until tip off here. Like you gotta figure out something to do before then.
Yeah, I gotta like. There's no way to like bide your time when it's to like for a game 7 for your own team, because you're just sitting around anxiously like. I don't want to watch anything else. It's like, no. I want to find out if the Celtics won or not yet.
Yeah.
Which I can't find out yet.
Well, and the other thing too is there's like an hour gap between Celtics and Bucks, and then the Suns and
yeah, and now I hate that gap too, because then it's like, all right, no, because now what am I doing?
You're either going to be on a super high or a super low, and then you've got to wait like an hour until the next one. Like that's where the NHL did it right yesterday with their game 7s. They were all like, okay, as soon as Boston ends, they're right into Tampa, Toronto.
Yep, and now that's
Toronto are done, right into the Kings in Edmonton.
They should have. I was thinking the same thing when I looked at the times for these games earlier. They should have bumped the start time, I think, of Phoenix and Dallas back a half hour today.
Yeah, because you want to make sure that if it goes to overtime, that you've got plenty of time to finish it, wrap it up with the post game, and then go into like the second game.
Yep, I think 7:30 would be perfect. I think, I honestly, because like you said, it's it's an hour after the Celtics end. Someone like me who has to be up at 4:30 in the morning the next day. Well, they might get too tired by 8 o'clock to decide that they want to stay up for that game. But you start that game right at a half hour after the game, after the Celtics end, and they catch it when they're eating dinner. Well, then they're probably watching the entire thing.
Yeah, I don't like the start time on a Sunday also being at like 8 Eastern time. Like, I just think that people going to work, like,
exactly, when you have the whole day to yourself. Yeah. Even knock I like the 3:30 stuff for the Celtics. You could even knock that back an hour.
Do 2:30, and then have the second game be at like 6.
6:30. I was just gonna say 2:30 and 6:30 Eastern time. Boom.
And then the games are done at the latest 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then you can get up for work and whatever else.
But, and it should work for everyone on both East and West Coast, because it's Sunday.
It's playoffs. It's the playoffs, and it's the weekend. Like I understand why you got to start things late in other markets through the week, but it's the weekend. Like there's no reason that you can't start these earlier.
Yeah, no, there's no reason on Sunday that you can't.
Okay, Steve, so why is Boston winning today?
I like the crowd advantage here today. I think this is where the decision to take whatever came to you starts to pay off for Boston. We've seen. Listen, I'm going to say this. I've been really proud of and impressed with the Garden crowd this year as a fan of Boston, as a proud supporter, proud believer in our home court advantage. I've seen times where, like, our crowd is just like, come on, kind of weak, and you're like, come on, guys. These playoffs, I haven't seen that once yet. I think the crowd has been phenomenal. If you've been watching, Kenny, which I'm pretty sure you have been,
yep.
I think you'd agree on that. I'm waiting to see if Robert Williams is going to play or not. We've got him officially as questionable for today, but I just think Boston pulls out today. It's going to be a tough game, but I thought they were winning the series in the beginning. I'm going to take them to win the series.
So you'll love this. So the other night we were in a halftime chat, and so we're just chatting hoops, and then Guy wants to join the room that's got the Bucks logo. Right away, it was like, all right, sure. Like we'll see what the fandom's like. And the direct quote was, "The Bucks are gonna blow the doors off the Celtics tonight in 6." And we're all just like, what? Like, have you not been watching this series? Like, the wins are all like close. Like, and he's like, no, they're gonna blow them out.
The other night, the Celtics won by like 10 points. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
and so that's what was so funny about it was the Celtics go on and win, and that's why I tweeted, I'm like, man, that Bucks guy in that audio room, he's got to be just livid.
Someone was texting me that like doesn't watch sports, and they knew I was watching the game, so they texted me like, oh, like how's the game going? I'm like, oh, well, they're up 10, a minute left, and they're like, okay, so like you can relax now then, right? I'm like, no. Like I'm not relaxed. There's a minute 30 seconds left in the game. They're up fucking 10, and I'm like, shit. I mean, it's been a hell of a series.
It's been advertised.
This has been a good test, real first test for Udoka for going against a head coach, because you didn't really have to like face a coach. No. And Steve Nash.
I won't slander Steve Nash as a Canadian hero, but he was not the best coach in that first round.
Yeah, it was not a great coaching matchup per se. No. This has been a good coaching matchup.
So my key for the Bucks, because I've advertised it everywhere that I got the Bucks winning the title, and I've got them as my future bet, so I won't pretend that I'm not biased in my in the fact that I want them to win today, but other guys have to step up that are not named Drew Holiday and Giannis. Like, and that's where Boston, I think they've had a great defensive scheme, which is basically, look, we're going to make things difficult for Giannis, but if Giannis scores 40 on 30 shots, we'll take it. Like, fair enough.
Yeah, I was looking at the box scores the past few nights. I think that's been the exact strategy. Yep. Make it hard on him, but if he wants to get fucking 40 points on inefficient shooting and no one else is going to get anything.
And that's what they've done, because if you look at this series, Grayson Allen looked like he was like a 3-point champion against the Bulls, but it's because they don't play any defense and he hit a lot of set open threes. He hasn't got those in this series, and that's why he's struggled. Pat Connaughton, he's had some games where he has like 12 points off the bench, which, hey, if you're the Bucks, you'll take that. Like, anytime a bench guy gets double-digit points, you'll be happy with that. Bobby Portis has had his moments, but he didn't play well in Game 6, so he's got to step up. And then even the starters, like Wesley Matthews is supposed to be a 3-point sniper, and he isn't hitting threes, and Brook Lopez isn't hitting shots either. So someone has to show up. Like, I do think that betting-wise, like, I had Tatum over 30.5, I thought was a lock. And I also thought that Giannis over 35.5 was a lock. I think they're both going to score 35 plus. and it's gonna be a
Hey,
fun game.
Kenny, you'll like this appearance here. Graham Simpson says Tatum for 40 plus tonight. Sees win
Wouldn't
by
shock
6.
me. It wouldn't shock me
No,
if they ran
it
back
wouldn't
like
shock me at
game
all. What's actually more shocking is what's up, Graham?
Graham popping in for
that's a blast from the past right there. What's up, buddy?
I think he just popped in because now that we're done talking about how bad the Sixers were, he's
yeah. He missed that part. Yeah, no, I think this is going to be another game that I agree with Graham. I'm not going to say 40, but I mean Tatum outside of that one game has been fantastic this series. After that one game that he had like 10 points, saw a bunch of Bucks fans coming out like, dude, we can lock down Tatum and we're gonna run the Celtics out. It's like, no, Jason Tatum's not gonna play like that again. Like, it's just not happening. What I need to see the Celtics do tonight is I need to see them attack the paint more. They're not going at him in paint. I get it's Giannis. I get he's tough to score on. But you got to attack this guy. You got to try to get fouls called on him. I know they're not going to give him more than 5.
Yeah.
Like let's be real. Yeah, Giannis. Like I think the other night he had 4 or 5 fouls. He committed like 22.
Yep. The NBA though is not going to foul him out.
Yeah, they're not going to foul him out. They're
not going to foul out any star players in the league. Like, and if they do, then it's like, I feel like they get like a slap on the wrist. Like, why'd you make him foul out? Like,
yeah,
you could have ignored that one.
You could have ignored that one. It's like, dude, I ignored like 12 calls before that.
Well, you should have made it 13.
Yeah. I mean, they ignore a lot for Giannis. Whatever. That's a story for. That's just another episode. Honestly, I want to talk about the next game too. So we'll forget about that. But I want to see the Celtics attack them in the paint more. You saw them start to do it late in Game 6 to really just put them away. And you saw them a lot of Game 5. The game they lost and blew the lead, you saw that they were attacking the paint, and then they stopped attacking the paint. You got to go after them. You can't just shoot threes all day.
Yeah.
Even when you're hitting most of them,
you're just bailing the other team out.
Yeah, because you're not gonna. I gotta say one thing too. Like, I feel so bad for Al Horford. Every time he shoots a 3, I'm like, oh no, and then he hits it, and I'm like, okay, fine.
You know who I used to feel that way a lot about was Marc Gasol, because Marc Gasol, he would just be standing out there for the Raptors, and then you're like, oh no, why is he shooting that? And it's like, oh, okay, it went in. All right, sure.
Yeah, fine. And I get it from Marcus Smart sometimes too. When I'm like, oh, come on, Smart, you're feeling yourself too much. I'm like, oh, okay, fine, you hit it. But then I also get moments that I'm like, the fuck, Marcus, don't the fuck. But yeah, I'm gonna take the Celtics tonight. I think they all just play well. We don't have either Scott Foster or Tony Brothers playing in the game tonight, as Tony has been sent to Phoenix for the Suns and the Mavericks. Now, personally, I don't know about you. I think you're probably feeling the same way. I thought this series was going to be over sooner.
I didn't.
Oh.
I actually didn't.
Okay.
So I picked the Mavericks to win the series.
Oh.
Now, my thinking on it was, okay, I think Luke and Brunson are going to be good. And I think what happens is, because we're going to see Bridges is going to be covering Luka, and Luka's going to play heavy minutes, that takes away a lot of what they're trying to do defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to open things up for the Dinwiddies, the Finney Smiths, the Klebers, like all these other guys that they have in Dallas. And I wasn't sold on Chris Paul. Like, I'm still not
He
sold on
is
Chris Paul.
not showing up.
So full disclosure, I had to stop myself from writing an article this week saying Chris Paul is either a point god or a point fraud, because he's one or the other. He's one or the other when he plays right now. He either has 28 and 15 or he's got 6 and 8. Like, it feels like there's been no in between for him this postseason. And he played great against the Pelicans, who don't play any defense. But they play a Dallas team that's really skilled, and like, he's had multiple games where he doesn't hit double-digit points, and that's got to be concerning, because you're supposed to be like, people were calling for Chris Paul to be all NBA all year, and I'm like, why?
Well, I think one thing we're actually seeing right now too, though, in this series is how much Phoenix needs Chris Paul to play well for the rest of their team to be as effective. Because, I mean, Devin Booker, let's face it, great player. Great scorer.
What else can he do, though? Like, he's played so good.
Yeah, no, he there's nothing more he can do. But like Chris Paul playing good gets Booker easier shots.
Yep.
Chris Paul playing good gets Ayton easier shots.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just not. I think Chris Paul really. They're a good team, but I do think they kind of go as Chris Paul goes, because he's that kind of point guard. I think that's what he was brought to Phoenix to do.
And I don't think that this solely falls on Chris why it's gotten to 7, because Mikal Bridges has also offensively done nothing.
Oh, absolutely. You have
and
to.
I get it. His main concern in this series is trying to maintain contain Luka, but
Luka on offense.
He's making it difficult, but Luka's going to score. Like, people think, like, I hate it when people say the analysis of they got to shut down Luka Doncic.
Oh my fuck! I can't stand that.
You don't shut down Luka. You make it so he scores 35, but he does it on 28 shots.
Well, it's every time that the Celtics play like the Sixers or the Bucks, I always hear, but they don't have anyone that can shut down Embiid. They don't have anyone that can shut down Giannis. And I'm like, okay,
that player
you find that player in the league who can do that.
Pay him $50 million for the next 10 years.
You got the guy in the league that can hold Giannis to fucking, 10 points and 8 rebounds. Yeah, bring him over.
Yeah, it's about making it difficult. So I get it. Bridges' main concern is making it difficult for Luka and making sure he gets 30 shots, but he's got to give you 15. 15 is not asking a lot for a starter that's going to play 40 minutes. And he's not doing that, and neither is Chris Paul, because if you look at the series, Booker's consistently getting like 30, Ayton's consistently getting like 18 to 20, and then the other two, you're like, where the hell have you guys been? Like, Chris, you had 6 points and then like 8 points right after. And Bridges, you were the same way. So when you talk about Chris Paul needs to be better so other guys are better, he needs to be better so Mikal Bridges is better. Because Bridges is not a shot creator.
And now I feel like this game is more important for Chris Paul's legacy than it is for any of the other players in this series right now, because Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Luka Doncic, all these guys, they've all got years to go. Plenty of time, right? Paul's at the end of the road, and he ain't won shit.
Yep.
There's been a question of how much he can win. Well, he finally went to the finals last year with Milwaukee. Well, now it's if you don't even make it you don't make it back to the Western Conference Finals the next year because
you lose to Luka and no one else.
Yeah, because you lost to a team that you should have been able to blow out because there's no depth on it. And it's because you didn't show up. Man, that says something to me about Chris Paul. It really does. That says a lot to me about him. You got it. This is the moment that you have to show up and play.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
dude, I'm torn on this game. I really am.
I really like the over from a betting perspective because it's only like 205, which I think is absurd given how much offense is going to be today.
That's crazy.
But the main reason why they went this route is because Game 5 was a blowout and it was like 115 to 85, and then it was the same in Game 6. But like, if you're telling me that Game 7 is going to be a 30-point blowout today, then I think you're crazy. Like I truly do think that you're absolutely nuts if you think that it's a blowout today.
I mean, Game 7's just come down the wire.
Yeah,
most of the time. I mean,
like
I'm not expecting any relaxing moments during my Game 7 today.
Mavs are plus 6.5 today. Like, so they're anticipating that Phoenix is going to blow them out, which I stayed away from that line because I feel like it could be a tight game and then Phoenix wins by 8. But I do think that they score a lot of points today because early on in the series, the betting line was like 215 to 220, and it's at 205 today. And I'm like, yeah, I'm taking the over.
So I'll be honest. The NBA is the sport that I hate the spreads in the most. And I like almost never touch a spread in the NBA because there's so much that can just like you can be blowing them out by 25 points with 2 minutes left or whatever, and whatever it is, and then they put in their bench and the other team keeps the starters in, and all of a sudden the lead gets just cut down because there was a big run that means nothing.
Yeah,
a bunch of points get scored in the last minute and they mean nothing. Like NBA spreads, you can never predict the last 2 minutes of an NBA game.
No,
like more so in other sports. Like you can.
An NFL spread, like if it's a touchdown, then you know that they're either going to blow them out or they're going to be like, you think it's going to be a tight game. But in the NBA, it's minus 8.5, and it's like, well, I could see this team losing outright, but I could also see them winning by 25. Like,
yeah,
that's why I prefer the over-unders in the NBA side of things because
I like
205, I know that one team's going to score 110 points, which tells me one team just needs to score like 100. Which
I like that plus 205. Where do you find that?
That one's on all sports books right now, as far as I know.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna have to probably play that one. There's like a couple of overs there. All right. At least I got. Oh, see, hey, Kenny, I found out something I'm gonna do to kill my time until 3:30.
I love it. I'm
gonna gamble on sports. The fuck else was I thinking of doing?
Yeah, come on. What are you doing?
Yeah, I could smoke pot and gamble.
Nice.
Oh, don't forget cigarettes. That just goes with the gambling, though.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm only smoking the cigarettes because I'm gambling.
Like I'm gonna have my phone on because I'm golfing at like 4:00 my time, so it's 6 Eastern time. So I'm gonna watch the first half, and then I'm gonna have it just playing on my phone as I'm out on the course. So that'll be my Sunday.
There you go. Yeah, but anyway, folks, this has been yet another episode of Sundays with the General. Don't forget, this episode has been brought to you by creationsnack.com. Use code BCMG for 20% off. I mean, I bet you if you order today, you'll have your shit in time for the conference finals. So, get on that.
Yeah.
Of course, I was joined by Kenny/Kevin Cotterill of the Competitive Hedge podcast. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Of course. Definitely. Go and check out Competitive Hedge every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time, every weekend at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Weekends, we go a little bit more in depth because the weekdays are kind of just like a 20-minute recap of the day that was and what bets we like for the day. But weekend, we talk a little bit more in depth.
I do always try to watch you at 8 a.m. During the week, but I have to admit it's usually not in ideal conditions to just stop and watch a live stream.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, folks, I will be back next week talking about literally whatever the fuck I feel like talking about next week. with whoever the fuck I feel like talking about it.
I love the attitude.